PC gamers, and welcome back to the PC Gamer Dialogue. I'm Lauren Moore.
Hey everyone, I'm Mollie Taylor.
And this week, Molly and I are just talking, the two of us, about games from our childhood. The old only 90s kids remember episode. That game.
Yeah, I'm a 90s kid. Just about, yeah. I was around for a few years in the 90s.
The two opposite spectrums of 90s kids, which means we're actually talking about edutainment and weird kid games that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, kind of, is the territory we will be exploring. Just, some old favorites, comparing cultural differences between our two childhood PC gaming experiences and how that has affected our taste as adults. But before we get into the nostalgia, Molly, what did you play last week?
I've been snacking. I'm still doing my parallel Dragon's Dogma 1 and Dragon's Dogma 2 playthroughs, which is kind of a pain doing both at the same time. I brought this upon myself. But I also got back into playing a little bit of The Sims 4.
Oh, nice.
I've got the
What are we
interior...
building?
Yeah, I got the interior design bug at the minute. I love decorating. If anyone remembers, like, the Sims episode we did, like, nearly a year ago at this point, I'm a build buy girly. I love decorating. It's like my favorite thing to do in The Sims is to just get a space and just fill it full of crap. So that's what I was doing. I've been just in my little lady lair, like the opposite of a man cave. I've been in my little lady lair with like my hoodie and my blanket and just like a little goblin, making cool little I love doing the apartments in Eco Lifestyle up. They're like my favorite units. I'm not much of a house person. I'm always like an apartment person, but the apartments in City Living are too damn big. Nobody is realistically... They're massive. They're so big in City Living. The apartments in Eco Lifestyle, I really like the size of them. So I like going into those apartments.
Do you just go from scratch and like invent things out of your mind, or do you need like inspiration to work from?
I just go with it. I'm just like, okay, what do I have? What colors do I want to use? And like sometimes I'll have like characters in mind. I'll never make them, but I'll have them in mind of like, like what their job is, what they're into, like who are they as a person, and then I'll kind of try and like design the space around that. But most of the time, I just kind of go with what looks pretty in my brain.
Nice.
So yeah, I've been decorating.
I'm big on the like needing inspiration for Sims build. I haven't. I had a like week-long Sims phase like a couple months ago, last month or something like that. And then I always like now get inspiration from TikTok videos or like Reddit things that people share, like like tiny this like 3-meter Beijing like apartment that some woman shared on TikTok. I was like, oh, I want to see if I can do it with tiny living stuff. And then like this other woman posted this like pastel monstrosity complimentary maximalist house of hers in real life, and I was like, oh, I want to build it in The Sims. And now, as I talked about, I was at GDC a couple weeks ago, and on the way out of San Francisco where GDC is held, there's a particular, when you're like, if you're taking the metro out to the airport, there's a particular part, I think it's a Daly City, where you pass through, and there's like all of these houses, like these walk-ups very smashed together on the hill. A lot of them are like colorful, a very different style of walk-up to like what's in my part of the country, and they were very much making me want to like make another like apartment lot from scratch of like 6 units together on one lot. So I'm always very like real life inspo, because I'm not creative enough to be like just dream up a house. I have to like look at one and try to make it. That's always my goal. I have been getting back into Sky Children of the Light again because it
Yeah.
last week announced its
Coming to PC.
PC launch
Finally.
date. Yes, it's been 5 years. It's been 5 years. It started on mobile, then it went to the Switch. It may or may not be on PlayStation. I don't keep
And you
track of it
love
well
this
enough.
game.
I really enjoy this game. This is, of course, by the developers of Journey, that game company, and it's very much like what if Journey was an MMO because it's got like you've got a cape that you level up to fly around. You find like little secrets. You have these very like restrained multiplayer interactions. Like there's a lot of players around. It genuinely is an MMO, but you can't like initially see or identify people. You have to like share a little candle with them and agree to like see one another and then become friends if you want to, so that you can hold hands and fly together. And it's I was surprised because I really thought surely there's like not going to be enough to do. Like it's going to be a fun little gimmick like, oh, what if Journey was online? But like every time I get back into it, it keeps me busy for like a couple weeks. Like I'll come in at the beginning of like a new like piece of seasonal content because it is a live service game. They have these like, season not battle passes, but like season track things, unlockable stuff. And I'll get sucked in for a couple weeks. Like there's a lot of stuff to like secret areas that you have to unlock, like certain different paths of quests you have to do to get to different places. There's like at the end of it, there's like an ascendancy system where you go through this like final like difficult area, kind of the way you do in Journey, before you then like give it all up, come back, and like you've like kind of raised your ascended level for your next like playthrough. There's like a lot going on in that game, so I'm excited to be back into it again, see what is going on this particular season, because it's coming out on April 10th to PC. And of course, it's had a demo since like October in a Steam Next Fest. They put a demo on to Steam, and demo was just the whole game. It was just the whole thing.
Oh, really? I did not know this.
Yeah, no, it just literally was the whole game. And I like linked my existing account that I'd been playing on my Nintendo Switch for years to the PC demo and just started playing there, and it has everything in it. Yeah, so it's like kind of been on PC for several months, just kind of quietly. I think they're doing some downtime from April 1st to April 10th, getting ready for like the proper PC version, like the proper early access version of build of the game to come out. But yeah, I'm getting back into Sky again. Every time I do, I enjoy it. I get so sucked in. I have to go find all the secrets. I'm pulling up the player wiki because I need to go unlock the last map stone in a particular area. Like it is actually a lot of fun. It is a lot more. It sucks you in like an MMO does, more than I had ever like anticipated before I like really started playing it. So glad to be back into that again. And other than that, then Molly, let's talk about games of our childhood. Woo! Very old stuff. Okay, Molly, what is the first game that you actually like PC game that you remember playing as a kid?
Okay. See, I was thinking on this because I remember having a PC when I was very young. And I was convinced that the first PC game I played was Puzzle Bobble, which is called Bust a Move in Europe, and it's taken from, I forget what it's originally called, Bubble Bobble. So it's like it's Bubble Bobble, but it's like a different style of gameplay with like the little dragons, and there's little like colored balls, and you have to like shoot like the little orbs of the same color to like group them up, and then they disappear.
Is it like a match 3 type thing?
I don't know how to explain it. It is kind of like a match game, but you like get random colors, and then you have to shoot them up to like the top of the screen, and they all start like kind of grouping up, and you have to match enough colors to get it to disappear.
I've seen this. Okay, now that you say they group up at the top of the screen, I can now envision this. I've seen it before.
Yeah. So I thought that was my first PC game because I feel like I remember sitting at a PC playing that. But when I was Googling it. I don't think it was on PC, like when I was a kid. So I don't know what the fuck I was playing that on. So outside of that, I don't really remember. I think the games that I do remember playing quite early on were like Learning Land, which is like
Sure.
we'll get into like edutainment. It was like an
Mhm.
edutainment game. And I remember playing pinball a lot as well. Windows 95 had pinball, I'm pretty sure. And I remember playing a lot of pinball.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was me. I want to say it was Bust a Move, but I don't. I was a baby. I don't remember.
We're
I was
definitely going to
little.
be inviting a lot of like generational differences here between like people's experiences of like whether they had a PC once they were a teenager, whether they grew up with a PC, whether like
Mm-hmm.
kids younger than us have a like you and I are just far enough apart that like we do actually have kind of distinct experiences, but I think we
Yeah.
do come from the edutainment era. The kids
Mm-hmm.
younger than us are the Minecraft era. They started playing
Yes.
PC games with Minecraft, and that's like a completely different experience from what we remember. Um, and then also, I think we're gonna find some cultural differences too, because of course, like the brands and the series of different like
Yeah.
edutainment games are gonna be different stuff that neither of us have heard of, which I think is so funny. And that is the earliest thing I can remember playing on PC because you and I both, when we were younger, were also console kids.
Yeah.
So I have younger memories of being like 4 or 5 years old and playing like a side-scrolling Star Wars game on the Super Nintendo. Um, and I think there was that separation in my mind for a very long time about like the video game machine and then the computer where
Mm-hmm.
learning games were on the computer. And the earliest thing I remember playing was Treasure Mountain by, I guess, the Learning Company. And it was basically this very early, like, adventure game type thing. Side scroller, little puzzles going on in it. You had to, like, collect coins and, like, climb up some mountain. I have the
Oh.
vaguest memories. And I started looking through screenshots of this little dude with his red hat, like, marching along on the screen. And I kind of remember it, but I don't remember, like, solving any of the puzzles. I don't remember like the solutions. Is it possible that I started this game 20 times as a child and made no progress ever?
Maybe.
Extremely likely. Yes, it is extremely likely. And I looked up the cover of it. It says ages 5 to 9. And I'm like, I don't know how old I was when I was playing it. Maybe right in the middle of there. And so probably the fact that I was bad at it is embarrassing. But I do have vague memories of Treasure Mountain for sure.
Mm. So you
What
were
were
like,
the
I was just gonna say, so you were like 4 or 5 when you started playing games.
I feel like I was around 4 or 5 when I have memories of the Super Nintendo. And then I think I must have been a little bit older than that for some of the
PC.
computer
Yeah,
games.
because
Yeah.
obviously some people kind of come into this hobby. Like I've got friends who didn't really start playing games until they were teenagers. But
Mm-hmm.
me and you are both people who've been playing games since we were like very little, basically, right? Because I'm about the same as
Mm-hmm.
you are. I think I was maybe like 3 or 4, kind of like just bashing away, not really understanding what was going on. And then I think, yeah, from like maybe like 5 or 6 was when I was sort of more coherently gaming than I perhaps was
Do you have the
before.
childhood trauma of the Lion King side scroller game that was on the Sega?
I
I didn't.
always wanted it. I never, because you know, like the VHS tapes. Okay, I'm showing my ass here for my age. You know, like the VHS tapes, the Disney
Mhm,
VHS tapes. I don't know what they were like in the US, but in the UK they had like loads of adverts before the actual tape would
mhm.
play, right? Before the actual VHS would play, you would get like trailers and you would get adverts. And I would always, I forget which VHS it was on. I would always get adverts for like, I think it was the Lion King game. It was some Disney game and I would always get adverts for it. And I always wanted it and I never got it. But it's rock solid, right? It's like really hard.
It's so hard. I'm looking it up just out of curiosity, and I guess it was on a few different systems. It in fact was on the Super Nintendo. I didn't own it. My friend had it on a Sega
Oh.
Genesis. She had it at her house. And I think like maybe one of her older siblings like actually played it and was decent at it, but like she would always whip it out and like want to try it. And we could never get past the part where the you jump on the heads of the giraffes and they dump you off again. Horrible platform timing. And I like, it gets played in Awesome Games Done Quick, I feel like often, like maybe it's every year, but I've definitely seen speed runs done of it, and I'm just like, I could never.
No.
So what edutainment like game brand was big for you all? Like what is that big collection of games that you remember playing?
So yeah, like for me, it was Learning Land. That is the one. That is the one. I think it might have been the only edutainment game. I don't really know how big edutainment was in the UK. Like, I feel like I came like to that age right as maybe edutainment games were being, well, maybe not as popular. And again, because we were both console kids, I was playing a lot on like the N64. That was like my first proper console, was the N64. That was the one that I was like doing most of my gaming on. And when it came to the PC, I wasn't doing as much gaming. Like my dad was the only one that owned a computer, because I would like go between my mum's house and my dad's house every week, because again, I love to say it on this podcast, I'm a child of divorce. So and as a child of divorce, yeah, my mum did not own a computer. She was like, she's not like a technophobe, but she's never really been like super techie, right? So like she didn't own a computer, my stepdad didn't own a computer. Like we didn't have internet until I was 18, like at my mum's house. Like we did not have internet until about like 10 years ago, which is very late to adopt having the internet. Yeah, but I did at my dad's. We had the internet. He had a laptop as well, which I feel like in the 90s, in like the late 90s, was like kind of a big deal, was to have a laptop. He had a laptop, and obviously we had consoles. So I play Learning Land on the laptop, and it was like, there were like different animals. I think, were they different animals? The only one I can remember is the one where, because like it was like a different theme. Like each Learning Land was like a different theme, and the only one I remember is the one where it was a fun fair. It was a fun fair theme, and all of the games were like vaguely fun fair themed. Like there was like a Dodgems one, I think, like a bumper cars, and there's like a coconut. I think there's like a coconut shy. I distinctly remember there being a coconut shy as well. Obviously it's like maths and boring shit like that, right? Like, but I really I remember like really liking Learning Land. But that was kind of my only experience with edutainment, which your experience with edutainment was more significant, right?
I would say, and I wonder, this is another thing that I'm gonna ask you, whether this is like a cultural thing, is, and I talked about this some when I was like being really into Chants of Sonar last year. That was like my personal pick. I talked about it tons on this podcast, and one of the things that I came around to was it felt like sort of that golden era of edutainment games that I remember, because it wasn't like there were definitely games where like do math facts, but there were a lot of games in that era that were just like, these are generally good logic and puzzle solving games because they're adventure games and they're not like made to make you learn specific stuff. And that's how Chants of Sonar felt. And the particular experience that I harkened back to was the computer lab, the school computer lab, and also like public library computer lab. And I don't know if that's an experience that you guys had, where like, at least me being from like middle of America suburbs, your elementary school had a room with 20 big honkin' CRTV or oh my gosh, what
CRT, you got it.
CRT. These big honkin' things, and your whole classroom would go together for like a computer hour, like once a week or something like that. You would go get to have computer time, and there were certain games that were installed on it. You would play Oregon Trail on that computer. You would play like Zoombinis, I think, was a big one that I remember, and I could not tell you what Zoombinis was about, They were these strange little creatures with like no eyes and just a head and feet. Zumbinis were really weird.
Oh my god.
And I don't remember what kind of game Zumbinis was. But between like the school computer lab and then the public library, I was also fortunate to have access to like a very well-stocked public library where I lived as a kid. So my parents would take me all the time and we would check out PC games from the library. Like for kids, there was a whole section and they came in these giant, big, snap open plastic cases, like these big old things. And the jewel case with the CD was inside. Because I think by then they were all on CD-ROMs. We were past the floppy era. So they like edutainment games, like computer games were just like constantly at my fingertips. Did you guys have that kind of exposure?
We definitely had exposure to like computers. I don't think it was in like a computer lab kind of way, unless like a computer lab in the US is what we call like ICT. In the UK, I think it's just called IT now. It's like information computer technology, I think was what it was. What it was like originally referred to as. And I do have like memories of being on the computer like at school as a kid, and you know, but I think it was more like typing. Like we would do like typing practice, and we did play games sometimes, but they were like browser games, like educational browser games, so like cool math games, like that kind of vein of things. If anyone is like, I guess, young enough or like to remember cool math games, that's like my memory with school is like the computers were always there. And yeah, we would have ICT, we would have like typing classes, but we weren't like, let's play the Oregon Trail. That was not what we did at all. No.
that was such treasured time as a kid, because when you got older, when you're like 12 or so, you go into keyboarding class and you learn to type properly. But I'm talking about like third grade, like you're 8 years old. You get that hour a week or how often it was, and it was just magical because you get to go and just play games on the computer, and they were all vaguely educational, but it was still just like a break from school and lessons. It's like second recess but inside. And I think the big brand of edutainment games that I think most people over here will remember is Humongus Entertainment. They were a bunch of point and click adventure games with like different cartoon protagonists. Everybody will remember Freddy the Fish. She was this yellow fish, and I think was her friend's name wasn't Flounder. That's from The Little Mermaid. I don't remember what her little friend was. She had a little fish friend. And Pajama Sam, Thunder and Lightning, Not So Frightening, or something like that. And then Putt Putt Travels Through Time. Putt Putt was a little purple car, and he traveled through prehistory and like some weird techno future. And they were all point and click adventures. Like you would go, find one object to take it to a person to unlock the door, to do whatever else. And my mother to this day, like any video game, she will ask me if it's like Freddy the Fish. Like I was playing like Fallout at home as a teenager, and she just like sat down one day like on the couch to watch me play Fallout. And I was like having conversations with people, and I was like, oh, I need to go do this. And she's like, it's just like your Freddy the Fish games. You have to talk to people to get the thing to take it somewhere else to do the other thing. I'm like,
oh, wow.
You're not 100% wrong. You're not exactly right, but like you're also not wrong. Yes, there are quests, and those are hugely popular. And importantly, it was during like the golden era of demos too. So each one of those games had demos for the other one in it. So you bring home Freddy the Fish from the library to play, and not only do you play Freddy the Fish, but you play the first like 20 minutes to 30 minutes of Putt Putt as well. Get all the Humongus Entertainment games. So that's the big brand I remember playing like the most of. Has your like taste in games, do you think, changed from being a kid to an adult? Did any of your big loves of childhood translate into your gaming now?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, like you know, as my brain developed a little more and I started to have a little bit more like autonomy over what I chose to play, I tended to opt for things like MMOs. Like I've spoken before about the fact that I played like Toontown Online when I was a kid, was like Disney's like version of an MMO. It was essentially like an MMO for children. I played like a lot of that when I was a kid. I gravitated towards rhythm games as a kid as well. There used to be like online rhythm games that you could play. There was Audition online, there was Super Dancer online, and I used to like play a lot of those as a kid. And as we all know, my love for rhythm games is still like very, very present. I still play a lot of rhythm games even now. MMOs, I play a lot of Final Fantasy 14. That is a thing that I do. But I played like a lot of social games. And I think this is just kind of like by nature, there were a lot of social games that existed as I was growing up. You know, you had like Habbo Hotel, eventually you had Club Penguin, you had Gaia Online, you had like Neopets, you had IMVU, I call it IMVU, Imvu, Second Life. These games that were like kind of games, but like they were like chat rooms dressed up as games, essentially, right? They were chat rooms disguised as a video game.
The era
And
of totally unregulated chat rooms. The
yeah,
internet was
totally
dangerous when we were children.
very, very dangerous. Like I will say, like, my father, I know he listens to some of these episodes. You should have monitored my internet activity way more as a kid, because oh my god, some of these chat rooms were like, yeah, some of these, like, especially like Habbo Hotel was rife with just like vermin, like the most disgusting behavior.
You said Second Life, and I thought to myself, I was like, that's not a game for kids. And then I got to thinking about like the popularity of Roblox now. And we
Yeah,
know Roblox is a space that parents need to be very careful in monitoring their kids, but what they're actually playing in Roblox. Like,
yeah, which
same,
like
yeah.
Second Life is essentially just like old Roblox, right? And it's the same with I'm just gonna call it IMVU. That's what I called it, IMVU,
Mm-hmm.
which was like a competitor to Second Life. I think that's what it was like designed to be. Was designed to be a competitor to Second Life. It had a very similar format. That was the one that I participated in. I do not. I think those kind of things just don't exist as much now. You know, we do have Roblox, but these kind of like chat room social MMOs, social games just don't. I feel like they don't exist as much as maybe they used to.
I think you and I just aren't exposed to them because literally, I mean,
Yeah.
Roblox you have, but then think about VR chat as well.
Oh my
Like,
god, yeah.
not everybody's walking around with a VR headset, but like
Because you don't
both
have
of
to.
the oh yeah, you don't. Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
but and VR chat I think is also a little bit notorious for like you should be monitoring what
Yeah.
you're doing on
Yeah,
VR chat.
maybe VR chat is like the new IMVU, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like social games, I'm too anxious now to like
Yeah.
ever be going and talking to strangers that I meet on the internet, because oh my god, what was I doing? Like what was I actually doing? Like they were such a big part of my experience growing up, was playing all these different MMOs and these social games. You know, I spent, especially the PC was my like social interaction game
Mm-hmm.
machine. Like I played a lot of Puzzle Pirates as a kid as well. That was another one where like I would be talking to people. I do remember I met someone on Puzzle Pirates. Her name was Claire. And I do remember my dad like sitting in the room. We added each other on MSN and we like video called. And like my dad was in the room, and I think Claire's mum was in the room as well, which is how it should be done.
Yeah.
That's how stuff like this should be done. It's like my dad was like chaperoning, and like her mum was chaperoning this like
Making sure you're actually getting on a video call with another child who you've
yeah.
made friends with. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know what she's doing now. Claire, if you're listening, hi.
Shout out to Claire.
Shout out to Claire, yeah. Shout out to Puzzle Pirates Claire, as my dad used to call her. It was an accurate description. But like, yeah, like, I spent so much time in like Puzzle Pirates talking to people. Like I said, IMVU, like I like spoke to people on that for years, because that was like it had forums as well. So it was like chat rooms and it was forums. So you were just always talking to someone all the time. Like it was like my Discord before Discord was Discord almost, like that combined with
Right.
MSN was just like how I was always talking to people. And I just do not do that anymore. I don't fuck with that kind of like that kind of game anymore. I will sometimes dabble in VR chat. That's only with one specific person. He knows who he is. He's a little goblin, and we just go around. It's like two tiny cat
That's who plays
avatars.
VR chat. It's little
Yeah.
goblins.
Just my little goblin friend who I met in Final Fantasy 14, and we just go around as like tiny cats. And everyone knows him. Everyone knows him. We don't go as like big tall anime women, which I feel like is quite a big demographic of VR chatters. We go in as like little cat goblins to seek and destroy. That's how I play now. 15, 20 years ago, I would have been going as a tall anime woman. Yeah. Now I go as tiny cat cube, looking to cause strife.
Just like you did in Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'd say like MMOs, rhythm games. Oh, I played a lot of The Sims as a kid as well, which I feel like I jumped in at The Sims too. I did not play the first one.
We'll come back to The Sims.
Yeah, we'll come back to The Sims. So like MMOs, rhythm games, The Sims have stuck with me. Social games, no. Social games, chat rooms, nah. Watch your kids, man.
Watch your kids. Amen. We are the lesson that you need to learn in our unregulated internet time. I would say generally I was on, like I described, I was on a pretty strict diet of computer games being like educational games because I was an oldest child. So, I'm going to add all the rules as it goes.
Yes.
And so I think my taste in computer games, as I would have referred to them down, computer games, didn't really last into adulthood because it was like nearly exclusively, adventure games. Those were really popular as kids learning games at the time. Like almost everything I can remember was an adventure game, aside from like the occasional like math blasters where you're having to do actual multiplication tables, and like that's no fun. And my taste in games that has survived has really been the console games. Like, like I was playing Zelda games when I was a young kid on the N64. I like got into JRPGs on my PS2, and like those things have definitely like remained a part of my taste into adulthood. And I would say it took a long time for to like undo the separation between those two things in my head of like the video game machine and the computer game machine. That like that like video games like for fun time games were also on the computer. It took me an embarrassingly long time to like sort of sort that out in my mind, I guess. And I think probably like not until I played like the first Fable on my PC that I like my mom like bought a new like home computer to use for work and like didn't know what to do with the old one. So I like ripped out the RAM, put in new RAM, and like I was old enough at that point that like I was allowed to have a PC in my room. And that's when you become unsupervised. That's where the danger is. But that's when I started playing like the first Fable. And then I like as a young teenager started getting into like the first Guild Wars. And I think that switch when I started playing like RPGs on my computer is when I was like, oh, PC, like this is also the video game machine. But The Sims did not like trigger that same feeling. I was playing The Sims a long time before that. And for some reason, I don't know, it was just like this special little corner separate from both things, separate from console games, separate from computer games. It was just The Sims. A magical place. You started with The Sims too, is that right?
I did, yeah. So I I did actually get to play. Sorry, I'm like readjusting because I sat really stupidly. I sat so stupid. I don't know how to sit properly. And because it's so casual. It's a little girly chat. I'm sorry to all the men listening. It's fine. You all have something to say too. I was a Sims 2 gamer. I started with the Sims 2. I remember going around to a friend's house one time and she had the first Sims. I think she had like just got Making Magic, which was a Sims 1 expansion pack. And I remember I never seen the Sims until this point. And I remember we decorated this house together and we got in an argument because she wanted it decorated one way and I didn't like the way that she was decorating it, but it was her Sims game, so she had the final say, that
You were at her house, it's her toy, you have to play her way.
Didn't like it. And then I left her house obviously the next day, and then the existence of the Sims kind of fell out of my brain, I feel like. And then, yeah, I was not coming home. I don't think I was coming home begging my dad to buy me the Sims. Which is crazy. And then I don't remember how me getting into the Sims 2 came about. I actually do not recall how that happened. I do remember that the laptop that I had could not run it properly because the graphics card was a piece of shit. So there were loads of flashing red textures all over my game because my graphics card was not good enough for The Sims 2. So I would literally just play The Sims 2 with half of the textures flashing.
Straight up Gmod style.
Yeah, this disgusting neon red constantly pulsing in and out in my face. Yeah, it was really stupid. I don't know why I did that.
That's such a universal experience, going to a friend's house and being introduced to The Sims. Did anybody as a child, anybody who was a child at that time, find out about The Sims organically? No. I refuse to believe that it's true.
I would love to know.
Everybody went to a friend's house and on their family computer, their friend was like, look at this game I have. And it was The Sims, because that's exactly how it happened to me. Went over to play at the house of a girl who was in my Girl Scout troop. And
my god, no way. No freaking way. My friend was also, we call it girl guides here, but my friend was also, it was a girl's, nah. Are you serious?
It's a canon event, Molly.
My god.
You gotta make friends with the girls in your troop, in your little, sales gang.
That's crazy. Ain't no way. Oh my god. Yeah, mine was also like I said, I call them girl guides over here. But yeah, mine was also a Girl Scout friend that I went round to have a sleepover with. That's mad. Anyway, I'm so sorry. Carry on.
No, that was most of it. It's she introduced me to The Sims, and yeah, then I think I must have gone home and been like, I want this. Can I please have it for the computer? And I don't know that The Sims was at the public library, and I might have been a little bit older at that point. So I think that was one of the first things that got purchased. I think we had Roller Coaster Tycoon, maybe, but I don't know what order those things happened in. But yeah, I got on that Sims disc and expansion disc train with the very first game as a kid. Man, it was so fun. It was so magical. You just build a whole house. How cool. And you just make people.
I know, right? It's amazing. And then you discover custom content, and it's like a whole, I don't remember how I discovered custom content, but I was an alpha girly through and through. Of course you were. In the Sims 2. I'm a Maxis match queen,
now.
All the way now. I have seen the error of my ways. I'm sorry to the alpha CC users out there. It's just so uncanny valley. I can't do it anymore. In the Sims 2, I loved alpha CC. Mm-hmm. Loved it. I remember just spending ages looking at all the different eyeshadows and the different hairs. And because I had the base game university double pack. That's all I had for a little while. So I would just make all my little university students. Super pretty.
I was thinking about the Sims expansion. Like always, for every version of the Sims is the pets. But then that made me think of something else. Did you guys have the
Cats and
with a
dogs with a
Z?
Z. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I had one of them. I distinctly remember because they would like play around on your
Yeah.
desktop, wouldn't they? And you could like throw a ball and they would like go for it. I think I had dogs. I want to
They
say
were
I
like a
had dogs.
glorified desktop pet. Like, oh
Yeah.
man, remember desktop pets? Man, those things must have been stuffed with malware. Like, do you remember you would download those things? No,
I
for
don't think I
real.
did. I don't think I did because I didn't have internet
Oh, sure,
like
sure,
at
yeah.
the time that I had dogs. I
Mhm.
think is the one I had. I forget if it was just called Pets. Actually, I don't remember what it was called. I did have one. Thankfully, I think I avoided the malware of it, but I did watch. I forget whose video it was that I watched like a couple months back where they were talking about like desktop pets and the whole like trading scene that came from like dogs and cats and stuff. And like, yeah,
Mhm.
apparently some of that shit was just
Well,
big
I'm thinking
virus.
about the like, yeah, not even like a proper CD-ROM game that was like sold to you. I'm talking about like the things you downloaded online, like that would like go in your Windows toolbar basically and like be like a background process because it's this like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
GIF of whatever just like romping around on your screen. That's another thing that when we were younger, could lead you to weird parts of the internet that you weren't prepared for as a child when you started looking for desktop pets, because let's just say some of them were adult content. How did I come across that? I don't know. But yeah, the Pets with a Z series, the precursor to like Nintendogs stuff, basically,
Yeah.
right? Like you would take care of them, feed them. It was like somewhere between a Tamagotchi and like the later Nintendogs, little things to take care of. Those were so fun.
Yeah. It was cool. Yeah, I loved those. I really, really enjoyed those. Good game.
What is a weird childhood game that you played that you think I've never heard of?
Ooh.
You've got all sorts of like
Ooh.
deep cuts.
Yeah, I am like I think again because I think I was kind of like you where I didn't take PC gaming super seriously for a very long time. It was just
Mm-hmm.
what can I get my hands on either for free or for
Mm-hmm.
cheap, which is why so many of my games end up I think why so many of them were like the social MMOs, like the browser and the web games, right? So like I was like a bit of a Neopets girly, which obviously everyone's heard of Neopets. Um, did you play Adventure Quest? Do you know of Adventure Quest?
It sounds really familiar, but I don't know if I'm
This
like
is another
mashing it
browser
up with
game.
something else in my head.
It's another web game. I have very vague memories of Adventure Quest, where it was like a was it a turn-based RPG? It was some kind of RPG. But I think the one that I know that you will not know is this web game called Sissy Fight. I think this is one you will not have heard of this because
What is Sissy Fight?
I had to literally pull it from like the butthole in my brain because I knew I could like envision it. I could envision it so perfectly, but I could not remember the name. And I had to Google browser games, schoolgirls being rude to each other. And somehow there was a forum where someone had asked for this exact game and it had been told it was called Sissy Fight. And it was like you were there was like a group of you and it was turn based and you all had to pick like a certain move, so you could like scratch someone, you could like tell on someone, you could like lick like an ice lolly or something, I forget, but basically you would all pick something, um and then like you would try like knock HP off everyone. So like if two of you tattled, you both lost health points. But if only one of you tattled, everyone lost health points except for you, kind of thing. So it was like
Oh yeah.
you had to
What do
like
you
get in the head of people.
what do you call that kind of battle system? Because I was about to say, is it rock paper scissors? But it's not that. It's not a
It's like a
chunking system.
6-way. Yeah, it's like it's like a strategy, like I don't know what you would call it, but you were like these little like weird looking schoolgirls, these weird like gross looking like drawings. They were like really weird looking. And I found out that I think it was one of the programmers or one of the designers on that game is also the guy behind Dynadash, which is
Oh.
another game that I loved as a kid. I don't know if you ever played Dynadash.
Never.
Oh my god, Lauren, my heart. Dynadash was like, it's like you run a diner. Obviously, I think your name's Flo. Your name's Flo. You have a diner, and it's a very simple premise. You get customers, color coded. So you get like a customer. You get two customers. One's in a green t-shirt. One's in a red t-shirt. You sit them down. You can like designate if they're like next to each other or opposite each other, and then say you get another two customers and they're also, one's in red, one's in green. You want to like sit them next to the other red and green customer, and then you like get little points, and you have to like dash to the kitchen, get there, you have to like take their order, take it to the kitchen, get their food from the kitchen, take it to it was so much fun. That kind of game I think I still really enjoy as well. You know, you can get them on like mobile sometimes as well. You know, I don't know what you call that, where you kind of, it's like a management, I guess. It's almost like a bit of like a management sim. I'm still quite into them as well, I would say. Thanks to Dynadash. But yeah, Sissy Fight was one that I remember playing quite a lot as a kid that you probably have not heard of.
No, I've never heard of that.
To be fair, I forgot, so I totally forgot the name of it.
The one that you may not have been familiar with, but I did have to go run and Google to like find the name of it, was called Star Wars Droid Works.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, and I think this was also like technically like some kind of education game. Like I think it was branded as like Lucas Education or something like that. Star Wars Droid Works. Oh, I'm looking because I'm so curious. I feel like I saw this the other day when I was like trying. Yeah, it says genre educational, at least on Wikipedia. Oh, Lucas Learning. Okay, yeah. Must have been, like, a subdivision of like the other parts of Lucas developing games. But anyway, yeah, you had to construct, you like take parts and like make a little Star Wars droid and like to do little missions. Like they needed to be able to do certain things. So it was like a puzzle where you had to like make a droid that could do the stuff that needed to be done in that mission, and then you would get to like walk around with it, I'm pretty sure, and like do different things in a factory. I don't remember much about it. I just remember starting it a lot of times. Like that one I had good. And Kid Pics. Did you guys have Kid Pics with an X?
I do not know.
That was Photoshop for children. Kid Pics was amazing. And apparently, I think we even wrote about this on the website at one point, because I feel like when I found this information out the other day, as I was looking them up, I was like, I already knew that. Why did I knew that? And I think maybe we wrote about it. Somebody made a browser version of Kid Pics that like you can go find. It's like Kid Pics with an X .app. And I went and played around with it some. Man, it like has all of the like big image editing tools. Like you could like, there was a stamp. You could like rubber stamp things. You could paint with a brush. You could like, I think you could even like clone tool. You could move stuff around, like paint bucket. It was like, you know, way more advanced than MS Paint. Obviously, it was way cooler. You could do so many things with it. And all the tools make like funny little noises and sounds like bloop, 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 as you're drawing. And like, yeah, Kid Pics rocked. I don't know if I did anything useful with it as a child, but it was like, you know, one of those things you love because it feels very, very cool and like grown up. Like, look what
did you have to pay for that?
Probably. It must have been something. Yeah, it was not a browser game until someone like remade it, and I'm sure because like whatever rights on it are expired or what have you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was something you had to buy. I don't think that came installed.
Yeah, because I'm realizing now the pattern of like I said earlier, when I was a kid, it was literally what was cheap and what was free.
Yeah.
Like all of my Sims 2 expansion packs came from a charity shop. I remember that much. So like and I'm looking at like the list. I'm looking at the list of games now, and I hardly remember paying to play any of these. So like I was always, what could I get for free? What could I get for cheap?
You
and
were
then
the thrifty PC player.
yeah, I was the thrifty one. I think because, like I said, so much of my gaming was on console
Yeah.
that was where the serious gaming happened. That's where all
Mm-hmm.
my real video games were. And then the PC was just like, I want to play something. What can I
Yeah.
get my hands on immediately for free?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, you know, things like Toontown, IMVU, you know, Toontown was like you could get a subscription. I think my dad paid for that for a while. IMVU, you could buy like currency. You couldn't like have a hotel and stuff like that as well. And Club Penguin, you could like pay, but to actually get into the games, almost everyone I'm looking at was free. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's I'm only just realizing this about myself. So
This will be another thing that you didn't have experience with then. And like I didn't either actually. It was my friends that had these things that were like very special like attachments to play certain games with, like extra little controller deals. I didn't really have any of those. My friend
no.
had this thing for an easy bake oven cooking game. And it had I looked up a video for it of like what this thing looked like. It like sat on top of your keyboard, and I don't think it pressed keys. Maybe it did. Maybe that's how it worked. Was it sat on top of the keyboard and everything you pressed? It just like looked like this little kids kitchen toy set thing.
Oh wow.
There was like a bowl and there was like a measuring cup, and you would like tip the measuring cup and like things would happen in the game, or you would like put an egg in, or like push down the mixer, or like pull out this rolling pin and use it on this little thing
Oh
of
my
dough.
god.
It was like incredible. Yeah, it was this whole easy bake game where you would like do different combinations of the little like tools on this station and make things happen.
That's crazy. No, I've never ever heard of that. Yeah, we did not really have. My dad had a flight stick. I feel like all dads who gamed on PC in like the late 90s, early 2000s had a flight stick. It's such a gamer dad thing to have.
My other friend that showed like a PC game to me, she showed me Doom on her dad's computer, and he had a flight stick and also Doom, and I was like, what is this?
It's such a gamer dad thing to have, really, is a flight stick. Yeah, I think he has another one now. I think he has a flight stick again.
That was one of the approved dad hobbies of the late 90s and early 2000s was flight simulation. If you were into computers, you could still be a dad and enjoy flight simulator computer games. That was an appropriate dad activity.
So yeah, we didn't. That's the only peripheral I remember having. Man, I want a fucking easy bake cooking game. That sounds amazing.
That was another one of those things that like I never had, but we would pull out at her house because she had some of the cool stuff. Do you have any others that you like specifically wanted to bring up? Any like big old favorite shout outs?
I don't know. I think like my girly gaming definitely happened on PC. I will say all of my big girly games were on the DS and they were on PC. So I played like Stardoll, which was like, again, it's like a browser like social thing where you could like you made up your little like avatars and it was all fashion based. And also there were so many doll dress up games on the web. I forget what they were called. They had like a specific name. They were huge when I was growing up. They were like freaking huge. There would just be like a web page and you could click on one, and then you could literally on this web page you can literally just drag like hairs and heads, and
it was like
jackets,
cutout dolls, but on your browser.
On your browser, it was wild. Yeah, I really liked those as well. So yeah, like I'm realizing stuff about myself today. I'm realizing about the way that I viewed my PC for so many years, and I think that's why I was like such a big console gamer for so long. Was again, like you say, that separation, right? And it's I think it takes a while to bring them back together. And also, I will say, I'm surprised how like not at all my taste matches my dad's. Like my dad is the reason that I'm into games. He's the one that like, you know, was like putting controllers in my hands, giving me games to play. My taste is nothing like his. at all. Like my dad likes RTS games. Like my dad is a PC gamer. He's not these days. He plays on Xbox, but you know, my dad like loved RTSs. He loved strategy games, loved flight sims. He loved shooters, and
None of
nah,
that.
not at all. That's not for me at all. You got a little bit off your dad as well, right? Like your dad was a gamer, am I right?
Nope, not at all.
Was he not?
Mm-mm.
I thought he was.
No, never has been. Neither of my parents like have any relationship with video games like at all. They only it was very much a kids thing. Like I did not get exposure to like the becoming an adult and like still playing games until it was actively happening to me and like, you know, everybody around me. Yeah. So no, I fought through it all by myself. It's like
you had no one to take after.
No, oldest child, no gaming parents. It was just all, you know, word of mouth from my friends.
That's crazy.
Pokemon at school, and then somehow you never stopped playing video games.
But yeah, shout out to my dad for getting me into games, but not actually playing any of the stuff that I like. That's fun.
Shout out to my parents for letting me continue have access to a computer, even though I absolutely got in trouble using it.
Oh
doing
yeah,
things on the internet I shouldn't have been. But
oh yeah,
they allowed me to continue having a computer and video games, and here I am now, a more responsible person.
We love them. Thank you, parents. That was a really fun trip down memory lane. Just thinking about our childhood as gamers. You know, I think we're both quite, you know, like you just said, we're both quite fortunate in that this has been a hobby that has been with us like almost our entire lives. So it's cool to like reflect on it, because maybe like gaming is like the thing that I remember doing like the longest. I've never done anything as long as I have played video games, except for existing, I guess. Like, existing is the longest I've done anything. Playing video games is the second longest thing. Yeah.
I've been breathing for a lot of years, and only a few years less than that have I been playing video games.
Yeah, like, isn't that crazy? Like, that when I think about that, that's like so wild to me that's something that we've been participating in for so long. Makes me like more appreciative, I think.
Yeah.
Of the
hobby.
The
nostalgia of it all.
Yeah, super cool.
Well, thank you for taking this trip with me, Molly, down memory lane, remembering games that we used to play and ones that we've never heard of. I'm horrified by Sissy Fight, and I will never forget it, and that's upsetting. But yeah, you can find Molly and I on PCGamer.com, usually not talking about, you know, classic old PC games. Maybe we can, you know, see if we can work in some of that old childhood gaming experiences onto the website. Cool. But all of that alongside our usual news, reviews, opinions, guides, all that great stuff at PCGamer.com. And as usual, you will be able to talk to Molly and I about this week's episode at forums.pcgamer.com.
Yes, come share.
Well. Yes, please come tell us the games that you know that like nobody else knew about that you played as a child. I want to know about more ridiculous games.
I'm so desperate to know what other people playing as kids. I feel like that made me really happy. So yeah, come tell us.
Please come tell us about it. Thanks, Molly.
Thank you. Bye everyone.